Good morning, friends. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, get settled in. We will be right with you. See?
I'm here. If you do think so.
Very exciting. That's Kathleen. Steve Page. F Day.
Oh, it will be, Steve.
There we are. All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. What is going on, my friends? Hey, good morning, Anne. How are you? Mike and Michelle. Yes, yes. It's a twofer today, this morning.
Yo, bro. Mr. Shane.
Bro, Shane, how are you, man?
My Hills brother and Broette.
Broette.
Thank you.
Broette, is that how it's
Sure.
called? Dude, dudette, broette, sure. I guess. What is going on this Friday morning?
I have the day off, which is why I'm here.
Yes.
So my day
Not
off, I
skipping out
come
work.
and I work. No, I don't have time to skip it.
You didn't wear a mask. Should we be wearing masks?
No. Oh my God.
I don't know. All right. I figured we'll ramble for a minute or two and let people get settled in.
Sure.
See who's watching on the website. And opted Kathleen is here. Slacker. Yes.
I earned that day off, sir. How
did you earn that day off?
I did a week of call.
During COVID.
Which in my world is like 7 weeks of call. Yeah. So anyways, we do a week of call and we get a day off in lieu. I got one whole day for 7 days. It's perfect.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
But it's a day off.
It's a day off. I'm happy about it. Sure. I'm going to get some stuff done. It's my daughter's birthday. So I have to go very last minute, pick up a present of sorts. And I'm going to do a movie buffet tonight.
What are we doing today? We're working.
Yeah, we're working.
Yes.
We're working on.
Hey, good morning, Brenda. How are you? Brenda is watching on
cool.
LinkedIn.
I have to apologize. I just jumped out of the shower, so I feel quite disheveled, which is like my normal. Oh, Kathleen, you're not a slacker.
No. Kathleen's got a day off too. So yeah, we're going on YouTube, Facebook, MikeCameron.ca/live, which is of course where we really want you to go. We want you to go and sign up for the community there so that we can continue to have some of these conversations as we go forward. Yeah, Shane, my man. It's like 2 clicks of a button. You can use your social to log in. Easy peasy. Shane's like a holdout.
Why?
He's refusing.
See, the problem I have with Facebook is all I'm getting is spam. And so I'll tell you something. I saw a post. I love animal movies. Like I'll watch anything with
movies, animal movies.
They're like the little clips in the videos. Fine.
Like cat videos.
I was watching one this morning in my run group, which normally should be a bit of a flag because we don't post stuff like that in the run groups. Long story short, it was like a dog snuff video. It was horrifying. And of course it happens right at the end and I reported it, but I'm so sick of Facebook for that kind of crap.
Yeah.
But my run groups are on there.
Yeah.
I need to get a Kleenex. I'll be right back.
Right there. Well, now what do I say? I'm all left alone.
All right. So what do we
Hey, good morning, Garth. You know what? We are going to talk about, I thought we could talk relationships unscripted, and this completely is unscripted, by the way. Michelle's like, oh, well, if I'm coming on, I better have a shower and clean up and do my hair and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, that's what you said.
Done. Yeah, I did say I was going to do that. So to be fair, on date one, and actually in our match profiles when we met each other, I did warn him that I don't dye my hair or wear makeup. And I don't think I said I rarely brush it, but you figured that out after a while. So
no, you said you had got all dolled up, and part of the challenge was on our first date. I said, "Oh, good, you didn't get all dressed up for me."
So seriously, I was very like, "What?" He had said, "We're going to go to a restaurant. It will be casual. You know, let's just dress casually." I'm like, "Perfect." So we had agreed on like a jeans and t-shirt kind of an affair. So that's what I came in. I came in jeans and that black shirt. But in all fairness, first date, I did put on a little bit of makeup and then did my hair. And I put on nice boots. So I felt like, that was a lot of effort. I'm normally in pajamas. So when I get there, the first thing out of his mouth is, "Oh, good, you didn't dress up." And I was like, "Ass clown, this took 2 hours. You can see what happens when I actually don't get dressed up." And then he said something about how you went on a date once and she said she wasn't going to dress up and came like a full
Yes.
cocktail gown or whatever.
Yes. This is why I don't date anymore.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad.
Anne says, the problem I have with Facebook, it freezes. The problem I have with Mike's site is the lives don't start till after the show starts. Oh, I don't know. Okay, I'll have to figure that out. I'll have a look. Friends, drop us a note in the comments. Let us know you are here. I see that we've got a few more people logged on. So we're going to talk a little bit about relationships, what it means. What is a healthy relationship? What does it mean to have a good relationship? Are relationships work? Should they be work? All that kind of stuff. So I thought it'd be kind of fun just for us to riff on. Anne, you can't say that anymore.
And I'm not going to repeat that. I'm sure that's like
hey, good morning, Mika.
Facebook algorithms and
probably. Hey, good morning, Don. Good to see you. I haven't seen Don in ages. Don is an old industry friend from Ontario. Whereabouts? I think you're in Ontario, Don, if I recall correctly. It's been a very long time. Yeah, so I thought we could just kind of riff on healthy relationships, what's worked well for us. Hey, good morning, Jamie. And yeah, some of our experience with relationships, because we've both had a wide variety of experience with.
Look at Jamie says, finally her third is awesome. I agree. Third time's the charm, Jamie.
I'm number 3.
You're number 3. But
I'm number 3.
But we're not going to get married. So.
Good morning, Chris. No, never getting married, never living together. Date 1, I think we established all the ground rules. Never getting married, never living together, never having kids.
You're not raising my kids. I'm not raising yours.
Yeah, we're not dating each other's kids.
Yeah, it was really nice because we agreed right out the gate. And I don't know about yours, but I had gone on a couple of dates prior to Mike. And they never obviously lasted past the first date because we just didn't align. I for sure found lots of people who wanted to either co-parent and have the Brady Bunch thing, which I was not comfortable with, or this one fellow wanted kids. Like it just, this ship is too old for that. I don't know what he was thinking, but anyway, it didn't last. Oh, look at Brenda says she can't see us on.
Oh, MikeCameron.ca/live. It looks like it's up and running there, but anyways, you're here, Brenda. This will work. We can chat with you here, and we're seeing your comments. If you're watching on the Michael Cameron's Facebook page, we can't see your comments. Hop over to Mike Cameron Facebook page. I know it's so confusing, isn't it? But I don't actually get fed those comments from my personal page. Maybe I'll pull that up.
Oh, look at Anne says, lots of people joining. I draw a crowd.
Yes, of course. Well, you're the good looking one.
I don't know about that.
You are the good looking one. All right, I'm just going to pop up my other Facebook feed. So if anybody is commenting over there, we can. Yeah, there's Dana. There's Joanne. All right, I think I got you on the other one as well, so we can see you everywhere. So Kathleen says, your boundaries and ground rules are so awesome. Yeah, you know what? Again, it's all about communication, I think.
Agreed. Hey? Because of course we have friends, and I'll point out Shane. I had the same conversation, and Shane was like, that sounds terribly off-putting. So clearly Shane and I would not have been a good match. But I think that the point of it is that it's the clear communication up front. And again, I think having the benefit of being older when we met.
Old and wise.
No, I don't know about wisdom. I think we're both like clock's ticking. I don't think we really want to dork around with too much falseness. And also, I think there's a sense of knowing who you are a little bit more, perhaps, as you get older. And so we both came at it with the lens of, not doctoring anything up. But we also, I think, individually had our own walls up, obviously. And I knew
Had? Past tense?
Okay, I still do.
Well, I feel like we both have little
maybe.
walls.
But I mean, I think that was the one thing going into this relationship is I knew that there were some things that I wasn't willing to compromise on this time, whereas I had in the past, which did not end well.
Yeah, well, and I think, when you talk about we both sort of knew who we were, I'm not sure that we knew who we were, but I think maybe more we knew how we wanted to explore who we were. And again, setting those ground rules up front was critical because what happens a lot of times is people are so desperate to be in a relationship and be connected because it's a wonderful thing, but you can't force it and you can't sort of put aside, I think people tend to want to, and again, there's lots of areas we could point to this in the world. Well, we'll turn a blind eye to this piece because I really want this piece.
Yeah, well, because I think loneliness is a real thing. And I think that loneliness affects everybody differently. And whether
Yes.
or not you frame it up that way. And I do think that people are willing to potentially overlook some things because there's that other sort of endorphin that's rolling. But it's funny, I was reading something interesting the other day, and they had said that when that love isn't, and I'm trying to think of how they put it, but anyways, they said that you don't fall in love, you grow in love. The problem is falling in love is that it's, very chaotic, potentially, and brief. But for anybody who's been in a relationship, and it doesn't have to be for necessarily a length of time, but a healthy relationship that's growing together, definitely you're not falling in and out of love and back and forth. You're growing in it. And I just think.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I meant when I talk about not so much that we knew who we were, but we knew how we wanted to grow.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you slightly. I knew who I was on that day, and then the next day I'm a different person, and the next day,
Sure.
To be very fair, because you're an accumulation of your experiences, right? So on that day, that's the person that I was. 2, 3. Oh my God, it's been 3 years and 3.5 years almost.
Yeah.
The person I was 3.5 years ago is very different than the person I am today, and I expect again in another 3.5 years it'll be different again.
Right, but I would suggest if you had. That would have been off-putting. Oh, we're back.
We're back.
I think we're back.
But yes, to Shane's point, I promise we didn't draft a constitution of relationship, but I do what you're saying. See what you're saying. It's the ground rules explore or evolve as you explore each other. For sure, they do. Hands down.
I think this is probably somebody telling us
we're stuck.
Yep. Thanks, Shane. We're back. I think we're back.
Yeah, and everyone and every relationship is different. Absolutely. Yeah. I think too, and the difference with this one here is I feel zero need to change or alter you. And not that I necessarily did with my
Thinking about my messy kitchen.
previous husbands. You just have a messy kitchen. I accept that. I also accept that I don't like it. So then I'm going to go home and eat in my clean kitchen.
There you go.
And you accept that. You're like, okay. So then there's the option. You either clean it or I'm going to stay at my house. It's pretty simple. So you've cleaned it.
Or you clean it.
Yeah, sometimes I do. If I make a mess, I will. Anyways, this is going nowhere. What should we talk about?
I don't know. Again, I mean, I think, should a relationship be work? That's, it's funny that, and you and I have talked about this before, and I think people often feel like it takes work to have a strong relationship. And I kind of feel like if your relationship is work, I'm not sure that's a real solid thing. I mean, again, I think you need to be able to show up consistently, but I don't know that should be work.
Well, I think you can sort of make that same comment about work. So is your job a job and you go to it and you put in your 8 hours and you really get no satisfaction out of it, or you struggle in it, or it's work? Or do you have work like you do where you love going, and it doesn't mean it's always easy.
Right.
And there isn't some highs and lows and challenges. I think maybe we could get into the semantics of the word work, but I agree. I feel like we put the work in, but it's not an effort, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's back to that actively growing together. Jamie says, work, there's always opportunities to show your love and affection.
Mhm.
Right. But that shouldn't, again, in my mind, that shouldn't be work. If it's work for me to show love and affection, that's a problem in my mind.
Yeah, well, maybe again, the semantics are the effort. If it's an effort to do so,
Right.
it feels effortless, but yeah, I
Right.
mean,
Well, yeah, okay. Maybe that's a better word. If it's an effort for me to
right.
show you these things, if it's an effort for me, then I mean, that's likely not sustainable.
Because we work at our relationship, we spend time cultivating it and talking, and
Shane's pulling jokes already. So if this is work and you're 3.5 years in, 3.5 more years, do you get a year off?
Ooh.
We're not like a government relationship.
oh, no,
Couldn't resist Shane.
But at any rate, that's what's worked for us. Dating older in the pool, having family and kids to juggle and everything else. Yeah, it's worked well for us so far. But there's been lots of conversations for sure. And that doesn't mean me asking you questions. That actually, maybe the point I want to make is it's myself digging deeper and asking myself questions, him doing the same thing, and then us coming together and having a conversation about what we have found.
Mm-hmm.
So we might do some like stimulating questions to the other person and drag it out. But the effort isn't me trying to figure out him. It's him doing his own thing and me figuring out my own thing. And then we come together and share what we have. Maybe that's a better description of how that works.
Yeah. But again, I think it's the growing together and it's the being open and honest. And I feel like, with a lot of the guys that I talk to, there's either this fear of sharing with their partner. And a lot of times it's because, they don't want to burden their partner. So they don't share.
Yeah, that pisses me off because we've had that conversation.
Yes.
Because you have not shared equally. And then it feels like there's a mismatch, right? And also it puts your partner at a disadvantage because they're not then given the opportunity to hold space for you.
Right. Well, and that's exactly what I talk about is imagine the depth of connection that you will have when you burden your partner with what's troubling you. I mean, when you trust them enough that you can actually open up and share with them what you're feeling. I mean, that's probably the highest compliment you could pay them.
Conversely, though, I've had girlfriends who will say, oh, my husband doesn't open up or he doesn't share or don't know what's going on. And then only to see that the flip side of it is when they do, she's criticized him for doing it not right or given him some solutions and so I find that super interesting too. Don't think that's a male female thing. I just think it's a sender receiver thing. So if you are saying this is a safe space for you to share, you need to actually make it a half decent space to share.
Yeah. And says Mike not sharing? Seriously.
She
doesn't believe it.
Yeah. So I will tell you the most annoying thing about Mike. So it's not probably the most annoying, but he will ask. So I'll say to him, I don't know, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? And he'll go, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? Instead of just answering the damn question. So there was a little bit of like psychoanalyzing in the beginning going on, but I figured him out and now I refuse to answer until he has given me his perspective and then I'll go ahead and say it. But no, I mean, I think Mike, like any human, doesn't want, I don't know if it's that you don't want to burden me, but you do sometimes get quiet about the things that are challenging you. You've got a few things on your schedule right now that are in your life that are weighing on you.
Maybe a little, but I don't know. I feel like
you're better now.
Yeah, maybe.
In the beginning, you did not open up at all about that stuff. Yeah. No. That was one of the other things too that we both committed to in the beginning. We both have baggage, i.e. exes. I have 2 bags. He only has 1. But we were very committed to not trashing the shit out of our previous relationships. It's just not healthy for us. It's not useful. These people are the parents of our children too. So we were very cautious. And that would have been a big flag for me if Mike spent any level of time, tearing apart his ex-wife. It's one of the things I really appreciate about him. He does not trash talk her. So, well, you don't.
No, I was just laughing because you do.
No, I don't. So let's clarify that too. I am very careful to not weigh in on Mike, his ex-wife, which is not quite an ex yet anyways, and their affairs. Truthfully, I hold space and listen. But you know, and I did have to ask him in the beginning, is this kind of what you want from me? Because it is easy to default to, you know, she's this, and trashing them. But I didn't feel that that would be helpful for him. I also don't really know this lady, you know, so it was a little bit of something that we had to navigate. Like, how do we navigate the baggage and everything? So, anyways, I was circling the drain with that. My point is, I lost it. I don't remember what the point was. It did have to do with something we discussed in the beginning about not trashing each other's exes. Oh, right. So in the beginning, you didn't share a lot of the stuff that was going on with your divorce.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yep.
And you were quite, I don't know, closeted or careful about it. But, you know, now you're a little bit more open.
Yeah.
And it's odd for me. Like, I mean, I want to obviously solution it and help. I don't want him to have this burden. And yet that is his to bear. It's his history. I've come in at this chapter. Certainly I can be here to support, but my role is not to add any fuel to the fire, because I don't know that that's helpful.
Yeah. No, and I think you do a good job of that. And yeah, again, it's just about creating that space where your partner can share.
Mhm.
And that takes time to allow them to sort of test the waters. And that's why it's super important, as you said before, when they do open up, not to come back with, okay, well, no, when I asked you to open up, I didn't mean quite like that. I would rather if you did it like this.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to accept this is how they communicate. I mean, you're welcome to say that for me, I receive it this way, or this is what it feels like to me when you communicate like that. It's not about, again, changing, as you said earlier, it's not about changing the other person. It's not about changing who they are. Or what they do, but it's about sharing what that does for you. And then again, if your partner loves and respects you, they'll do their best to navigate that.
Yeah. So the thing that I noticed with me that I had to really catch myself when I wasn't actually listening, that I was just listening to get ready to tell him what I was going to say next. And that for me anyways has been sort of the biggest growth curve, that when Mike is talking about something, because I want to solution it for him. And I know you hate solution as a verb, but I want him to feel better. I can in my mind start thinking, okay, well, here's how we're going to fix this. So I really have to internally do the work and stop and just listen to hear what he's saying. And the biggest trick for me doing that is when he's done speaking is to then take the pause and not say anything. Sometimes it just needs to hang there for a minute so that we can both digest it. It also gives me a chance to read Mike's reaction to having unloaded. So sometimes you can see he's done. He doesn't need anything more from me. Sometimes you can see you can sort of just tell, actually, you might want a little empathy, in which case I might throw the C word out there every once in a blue moon because you don't. You might want some strategy, in which case now we're good at it. So he'll ask for it. Like, what do you think? But yeah, it is really about actually making sure you are listening to your partner for real. Well, and not just waiting.
Yeah, and that pause, that was one of the, I mean, that's the most powerful piece in any conversation, in any relationship that you're building. I had one of the guys that I coach had implemented that as one of his, we always come up with, what are we going to implement this week? And that was one of the things that he implemented, was just practicing that pause, never closing that conversation. So if somebody was sharing with him, he would just listen and wait. And he would never be the one to move on the subject or close that conversation. He would just pause and wait for the other person to do it.
So, I mean, I've started doing that at work, and it's fascinating. I actually get a much better response from my staff when I do that. Whereas before I would have felt quite pressured to sort of give an answer, a solution, or move something forward. The most interesting thing is, because I'm I don't want to name it a type A or whatever, but I live in a world, especially for sure. I do like to fix things and solution things, but I lived in a world previously, because of the domestic violence, that I was very pressured and fast moving and always thinking. You're always on guard, right? So you're kind of very hyper vigilant. So when I met Mike, that was a real challenge for me to slow that down, and I'm still working on it. One of the best things that we did, which drove me crazy, he would stop the car when we arrived at whatever destination, and he would say, okay, So even if we were like right on time or just right before, because we're never really late, he would say, we're just going to sit here for 30 seconds. And it would drive me nuts because 30 seconds felt like a millennia to me. I really actually struggled to just sit there.
I think the first time we were going to practice the pause, I put forward 5 minutes.
Yeah, nobody does 5 minutes.
You're like,
It's
what the
ridiculous.
hell? I
No.
said, all right, we'll start with 30 seconds.
And then I would have to get the timer set. And I was literally like chomping at the bit and counting down the 30 seconds for them to be done. Sort of acquiesce Mike's request for me to slow down. But we've done that frequently. And now I do it on my own and I do practice. And the fact of the matter is, Mike had said something to me one day. Slowing down for 1 minute is not going to change anything on the other end. It's not going to make you that much more late, or it's not going to. But what it will do is it will slow everything down and let you reframe to the point where you're better able to tackle what's coming next. And that absolutely, unequivocally is true. 30 seconds doesn't cost you anything. A minute doesn't cost you anything. It really, really, in the grand scheme of things, if somebody's waited for you for 5 minutes, they can wait 1 more minute. But it gives you a world of control and calmness. And again, it just sort of grounds you, I think, to remind you that not everything has to be done at 100 miles an hour. I think that's an old trope.
No, well, and that's the thing. Like again, 60 seconds isn't going to cost you anything, but it could save you a life.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it literally saves lives.
Well, and so interestingly enough, when I worked in ICU, so I worked in ICU for about 10 years, and we ran the crash carts and everything. We never freaked out. That we never rushed ever, because you're right. 30 seconds. If you make a mistake in 30 seconds because you rush to earn 30 seconds, you've done nothing, and the cost is very high. So I found that interesting that at work I would apply those principles, but then when I was at home, because of the home environment that I have, I never did that. So how long is the forehead pause, says Anne? Well, we can talk about the forehead pause. No, the forehead pause is...
Oh, that wasn't a pause.
No.
Look at you, just jumped right into it.
Because I'm talking to Anne. The forehead time is however long it needs to be. It's just organic. And you can always sort of see when both people need it longer, you just sort of lean in longer. And so I practice this with my kids. My kids are, I was going to say still young enough, but they're 15 and 17. And thank goodness, however I raised them, they're not shy on hugging and forehead time. But I did read somewhere that you should never be the first to break a hug with a child, because then you might have cut it short. So I started implementing that with my kids, and I was shocked at how long they would stay in my hug. And that includes the 17-year-old boy. So when I hug him, I don't break it first, and it's long. Like, even I'm agitated because I like to move forward. It was very interesting practice.
Clearly.
So forehead time, I try not to necessarily pull away first, but yeah, we just sort of feel it together.
Have you used it yet, Anne? Have you used it with one of the workers at your home? I think that would be fun. That would be a neat experiment.
Yeah, I think it works in all applications. I think you shouldn't do it to strangers on a bus. That would be weird.
I don't know. You'd try.
That would be weird.
Yeah, probably. You might get arrested if you tried that.
Anyways, we've rambled.
We have rambled. We've talked relationships unscripted.
Well,
for
our
30
relationship,
minutes.
yeah. And
Yeah,
as Shane
but-
points out, like, every relationship is different, but this is what...
Yeah, every relationship is different for sure. But again, in my experience with the men I work with, for sure, is fun to
Focus.
explain to the police. I'm reading comments. I mean, I think these principles they work for anybody.
Mhm.
I mean, there's no question about that. Absolutely no question. So practicing that pause is, I mean, if you're going to take away one thing, like, that's it in my mind. That's the biggest key to all of this, and just creating that space to listen, waiting, pausing. And the other thing is, I mean, you get so much more out of that when you allow that space for your partner to share, because that thing and think about this, like, how many times have you been on the verge of, I want to tell them something, whether it's your partner or whether it's any relationship, business relationship. I want to tell them something, but I'm not quite sure how. I need a minute to just formulate that thought. But the person on the other end keeps talking, and then it just goes off, and it's like, oh, okay, well, great. Now I don't have to share that. And it's actually a bit of a relief.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if they had just paused for a minute and waited, you might have been able to get that out. And there's just so much more information that can come when you do practice that pause. And I think that is universal.
Mm-hmm. I think too that there's a weariness to people. I think COVID has exhausted everyone, but even pre-COVID, our jobs and the way that we live has given a weariness to our society that maybe isn't discussed that much, but also you just need to take the pause. Because I know when I'm weary, I'm not going to fight back. I'm done. Maybe when I was younger, I'd be a bit more scrappy. So if there's no opportunity for me to speak, alas, I might honestly just be already cutting you out in my head and be done with it. And I think that was the other thing too, is to recognize and really see Mike. So it's not what my version of Mike is, but really when I'm quiet and paying attention to what he's saying, I'm also trying to observe him physically. And then I can notice if he's extra weary, and I really do try and be empathetic to where he's at in that moment. That takes practice, and it takes time to learn your cues and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then your cues evolve, right? So I have to be open to the fact that what I knew about you yesterday might be different in a week.
And also, I mean, I think that's a good point too. It is actually asking. So observing those cues, your interpretation of those cues might be different than what's actually happening.
We did that a lot.
For sure.
We would say, okay, do you mean this? Like, you look like this. Is that how you're feeling? Because in the beginning, we didn't know each other's cues very well. And we also spent a great deal of time texting because we both had homes and children. So we weren't mixing as much. That's actually a very good point. We did a lot of clarifying communication in the beginning and still do.
Well, I still think there's the odd time, like there was something I feel recently, and it was like nothing important. But you made a statement about you don't like or something, but it was one of those, because there was one experience one time.
Oh, he says this all the time. So we were at Kat and Shane's house having delightful cocktails. Thank you. And they said, you should come over for dinner. Any allergies? I said, no allergies, but Mike doesn't care for mushrooms, tomatoes, and olives. And then that conversation led to, you don't mind mushrooms? And I'm like, I know nothing, clearly.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly. But it's those kinds of things, but just being open to the fact that we do get those ideas in our head for whatever reason. Again, partner said no mushrooms on my pizza one time, and that can easily become they can't stand mushrooms. Again, with food, it's not really an important thing, but there are other applications of that where it could be important. Good point. Re-observing cues. Maybe today just isn't the day, but respecting those cues. So I'm just going to say this. You two just blend together well.
Aww. We do blend together well.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
But
we
again,
right.
it's been with a lot of open empathy. So we both, when we met, were willing to be open and empathetic to each other. And then in that space, and we had to, out the gate, decide we were going to trust each other, obviously, to share at that level to a certain degree. And then the trust has gotten deeper.
Well, and I think part of that, too, is not so much even having to trust each other out of the gate, but more so saying, I don't fucking trust you right now. So this is why I'm going to show up like this. But no, but not just you, like me too.
Yeah.
But just having that communication, like, I don't know that on your first date that you've earned the right for me to trust you completely.
No, but I maybe I didn't articulate that well. I think that if you're going in completely closed off with this is, then you are not empathetically open to the other person. There's probably not going to be a lot of space for you to build more trust and earn more trust.
Right. But what I'm saying is you can go in like this if you're open about that. Look, here's where I'm at right now. If you're willing to work with this, it's going to take a bit for me to get to trust you.
Work with this. I think I actually even told you that. That's funny.
Well, yeah, but it's true. Like, I don't think that what I don't want is people to walk away thinking that I have to be open and trusting out of the gate. First off, your partner needs to earn your trust, and there's a lot of people that aren't trustworthy. and that's okay. So don't stick with them.
Agreed. I don't think I articulated that as intended.
No. I mean, I think the opening up, like, that's where you have to get to, and I think you have to see a path to get there. And if you can't see a path to get there,
well, you shouldn't be.
Then you shouldn't be together. And that's where I just got to do the work. Well, if the path isn't there, sometimes there's no amount of work that's going to clear that path. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an important piece too. You can't let loneliness delude you into thinking I can create a path.
Yeah, that's easy to do because being lonely is like toxic. It really is. And I don't think that people necessarily even admit to themselves how toxic that could be or how, but it's it's a determinant of health. So any health professional will tell you
that was my alternate topic for us for today was loneliness and that being comfortable being alone. And you and I have talked about this before, mm-hmm. and I've, again, that 5-minute pause, that, forcing you to be alone with yourself for a while, mm-hmm. and being comfortable with that is such a critical piece. Jorgen says, I think it's the right shades of brown and gray. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. All right, my friends, it's 36 minutes in. We've rambled for a bit. Dana, Joanne, glad you guys tuned in.
Hey, Joanne. Nice.
Yes, we missed. See, that's the.
And Dana, there's the other screen. Yes,
yeah, that's the other screen.
Yeah.
What else you got to say?
Nothing.
MikeCameron.ca. Go join the community.
Oh, our shirts. We got all of our shirts in. So I think we have 5,000 shirts in my basement, the Make Beautiful Shit Happen shirts. And thank you for purchasing yours. Yours is on the way. We sent it out yesterday. Yep. So, and Shane and Katrina already have theirs. So if you're interested in helping Mike out, in these times where there's no speaking gigs.
Yes, because my work schedule is not quite what I'd expected it to be given COVID.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of live events going on right now.
Yeah, and I just appreciate people letting me ramble and join every once in a blue moon. Mike likes to drag me on unexpectedly.
Well, clearly people enjoy you more than they do me. Well, I think they enjoy the banter. I think that's fun.
Oh, anyway, folks. Anyways, my friends, continue to make beautiful shit happen.
As always, continue to make beautiful shit happen. Have yourself a
beautiful day.
Fantastic day.
Oh.
Beautiful day. Whatever.
That works.
And mushrooms.